Hey everyone, g'day. Um, things are only middling here. It's been a rotten week. Um, no toilet paper. Yeah, it's all right. Anyway, g'day everyone. Hey Warren, if you're still there, Chirpy, Craig. Stephen, hello, good morning. David, hello. Greg, g'day. Kevin, hello. Mark Osborne, hello. Tommy, g'day. Matty, hello. John, hello. $10 a roll. He's got the monopoly there, and then that's cheap. I reckon buy off John, absolutely. What is happening? It's Australia, so we're crazy. Someone seems to have released social media somewhere that toilet paper is made in China, which is bizarre because it's not. We kind of make it here in Australia, and it's a bit strange. It's a bit peculiar. So you've probably seen on the news that Australians have a shortage, or they're going to have a shortage next week. This week, everyone's got plenty. Really strange. It's peculiar, but anyway, that's the way it happens. People are strange. Darren, g'day. Man Cave, hello. So that's a bit strange. What else is happening? I've been waiting 3 weeks for inserts. There we go. One of these is open. Right, I'm running short on inserts for Chinese tooling. I don't know. I must have a boring bar with one still in it somewhere. I don't know. There's a filthy, dirty lathe tool in the lathe. I'll get a brush. There we go. CCMT. Use a lot of these, and just about all my tooling has this. Haven't missed anything, Maddie. Hey, Raymond. Might have to just use what you got and hope we get some more. Good luck, Craig. Anyway, this is a CCMT 6 or basic. Oh, can we actually see that? Is that actually going to focus? Unlikely, isn't it? Really unlikely. There we go. CCMT. Anyway, I ordered 2 boxes of them about 3 weeks ago. And thought they're only coming from Sydney or somewhere in Melbourne. They won't take a lot to get here. So just ordered them off eBay. They're just cheap inserts. They were about $1.50 each, something like that. So pretty good value. They've been 3 weeks getting here because the address on the envelope wasn't complete and my postal system's not good at the moment anyway. But don't get me started on that one. Anyway, when these arrive, these are DCMT, not CCMT. Right? not much different, but we're probably going to struggle to get that in the corner there. In fact, very unlikely it's going to fit. So I've got 24 of these. And I messaged the seller saying, hey, look, there's not even a number on these. There's nothing. There's a plastic bag with a barcode number, which doesn't seem to mean anything. And 10 inserts. Not much use to anyone. Not much use to me anyway. So I messaged her and she said, or I guess it was she, and probably Chinese, she said, look, let me refund $3 of your money and you leave me good feedback and you can keep the merchandise. And that's not going to really cut it. So I said, you know, do you have the right ones? Do you know that they're different? Do you know what you actually sent me? Because there's nothing written on them. And the only answer I got was, let us refund $7 of your money and you can keep the product. So I'm going to message her again and say, if you can't supply the product and it's not as advertised, I don't know. What do I do? Do I stop? I would say that they're about DCMT 070204, I would say. That's about what they are. These are too small, and this looks like a pretty good system, so I should buy a tool holder. And then I sent a photo to Stefan and said, hey, look, what do I do about these? And he says, make a tool holder. So they can't get logic out of a German. But that's his answer. I'm not sure how that's going to go. Yeah, Chirpy, I hear this. Well, they ought to refund them. I'm not sort of feeling bad about it, but they're not as advertised, and they're not even close to as advertised. There's nothing written on them to prove that they are what they advertise, which is CCMT 6 by 2 millimeter, which is not what these are. So I'm going to see how I go with this, but sadly, this is about the only insert I've got left, and it's not all that good. So we're going to grind to a halt here with the rest of the world. Thanks, Craig. I'll check that out. I could probably swap them for toilet rolls, yes. Anyway, I've got 2 packets of inserts I can't use and no inserts I can use, so that's a bit of an issue. That's today's gripe. I've been messing with this, and some of you probably saw some pictures on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm going to put all this together in a video and put it out so that you can sort of see where it's all coming from, because you get bits from here and bits from there, and a few people have said, oh, Instagram, you never get enough information, and Facebook, you never really get enough information. This is... I should be right for toilet rolls for the next week or so. I don't know. It could be a couple of weeks before I've really got a problem here. So, this week, I've bored this and machined a recess in it and pressed this bush in here. It's not in there real tight at the moment. In fact, it'd push out again pretty easy, I think. Hey, Dennis. So few little jobs on this, a lot of little jobs actually. I've fixed the end float problem on here, which was a bit long. This is a bit of a task, but that fits there now. And the tumblers work here like this. I've had it on the lathe and I've had it running. It's really pretty dangerous as it is. It's kind of scary. I need to put a detent on here, and for anyone who keeps asking about how that's going to work, I'm going to make a plate to go over here, around here with a hole in it, and then I'm going to buy a proper decent manufactured detent to go in here to make it look nice and professional with 3 holes. So we've got one position's about here and one position's about here, and there's a middle position which is neutral. So that's all going. In the process of this, I've drilled 2 holes here. If we pull this out so it's a little bit lighter, we can probably pull this one out. I think it'll come out. Probably. Oh. There it goes. So this is a cam lever. It's got a 1mm offset on here, and this is just a drill bit in here, but I have drilled this on an angle, and then it's going to have a tapered lever so that the inside's straight and then the outside's on a bit of an angle, so it looks the same as the tailstock. So that's the tie down bolt, or the cam lock bolt. And then there's a stud here with a hole in it, which is 4140 with a stud in it, and an adjustable T-nut. So that's what locks this down. This is 4140. It should be strong enough. I'm sort of thinking it needs heat treating. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to have a think about that. At this point it's all right, but it's pretty thin in here because I messed up again the second time round and didn't feel like boring this out again to make it bigger. Long sad story. Hey, Casual Steel. It could be nasty if that lever vibrates loose. Yeah, I don't think it will. I'm going to put a slot in this, or a groove, and then a grub screw in this side to give it a bit of friction and stop it coming backwards and forwards this way. So that's the theory there. When I drilled this, that's crazy. Waking up in time for this is just mad. Anyway, when I drilled this one, this drill navigated off to the end by the time it got through to about here. So I wasn't real happy with that. And I spent the rest of the weekend setting it up again and running an end mill through it so it's actually parallel again. And then making 2 bushes and pressing in there and Loctiting in. So it's not bad. It's really nice now. Really happy with that. This one did exactly the same thing. Don't know what happened here. It was a miscalculation or something wasn't tight, or I'm not sure. Anyway, I ended up with a tapered hole in here, and I ended up setting it up and machining it oversized and then pressing a bush in this one too. So everything's pretty nice. And I think I'm gonna be happy with that. So that's what we got. This is the same system and exactly the same dimensions as the tailstock works uses. So I think it's going to be pretty good. It does stay fairly tight. I'm just going to be thinking about that and be a bit conscious of it for a little while before we rely on it too much. So that's all the bits. I made a heap of these a long time ago, which are spacers. And put this back in here. This goes on here. There's one on there already. Just to give them a bit of space between the two gears. That's the theory. However, for some reason, some of these are absurdly tapered and all the gears wobble. So I'm going to have to make them again. Not impressed about that, but it's one of those other things that you do twice. Casual, yeah, they are. So hopefully I got all that explained before JB turned up, and then we don't have to explain that I messed up his nice bit of billet. But I don't think we've seen this because it only arrived this week, didn't it? But this is the crap. It's a bit top heavy. This is the wire EDM. Geez, now it's had that bit of metal out of the outside back. Wire EDM inch plate that he cut. And that's excellent. It's taken very minimum to clean that up. I don't know whether I'm going to try and sand this scale off the edge. I reckon all it needs is probably an abrasive cleanup. And blue this, all of it. That might be just chemically blacken it. That might be a good way to do this. I don't know if it's going to get paint. If I was going to paint it, I would have machined around here and made some hollows to paint so the paint doesn't get chipped. And so it looks a bit organic along with the shape of the lathe, which is sort of this shape. But I don't think that's going to happen. And paint between here and the headstock's not really something we need. So maybe it's going to get cold, like chemically blued, some of these bits. Don't know yet. Still thinking about that, but it needs something to stop it going rusty. Vinegar for the scale might work, Raymond. Thanks for that. I could try that. I could run a nice, like a pattern around here with fig leaves and things and acanthus leaf, etc., etc. Not going to happen. Not on steel. And it's going to get dinged up a bit anyway. So I think it's going to be blued before it's all finally assembled. So that's where we're at with that. This is all adjusted up with the eccentric bush. This spacer here is so that these T-nuts clear. If we put that in there and then I'll put a grub screw in here like this. I could paint it John Deere green if I've got a little tin of it somewhere because it's a nice colour. But not going to happen. I haven't got a small enough brush to do that. Anyway, I've got a friend who's dying to get me to take a video of his cold bluing system, which is awesome. He's gone all out on that, and it's more than capable of doing this. So we might, or it's actually a hot bluing system. So we might go and get a video of him doing these bits. Some of them we don't do this and this and the probably the banjo. And see how it goes. This I think I'm going to harden and heat treat. I'm not sure yet. So we're probably about halfway. Another weekend would make, if I really got in, would make this detent and fit it. This all turns nicely without too much backlash or noise, and if this is in the right spot it runs quite quiet. If you force it either way or engage too deep, it gets really noisy. This all works. I've got to do this handle, Hello, Rustanox. Good day. Video from Matty I noticed on Codanger 2020. Haven't watched it yet, Matty. That looks pretty good. Matty's workshop. A few other videos as well. I'm gonna go and check that out. I watched Kevin's video while I was waiting for live stream, so I've got to go and watch Matty's video next. Sorry, Matty. Looks like there's some cool stuff coming out of that. Mine's somewhere between a sketchbook and pencil on a bit of plywood at the moment. So that's where we're at with that. It all works though. It all locks down really solid and nice. About probably quarter of a turn, a bit less than quarter of a turn on this lever, locks everything up, and you can't really tap it along with a hammer. So it's on there for good, and I'm really pleased about that. It seems to, you've got to give the handle a bit of a bang to loosen it off. So I don't think it's actually going to ever come loose. So I'm really pleased with this lockdown system. This was cut, wire cut. I actually ended up taking about 0.8 of a millimetre off here, probably 0.4 each side, something like that, with an end mill, just to get it to sit down on this surface as well as on here. And now it locks down beautifully. So the only issue, and the thing that if I was cutting another one I would change the design for, is that I'm not sure we've got enough room for a lock bolt here in this corner. That was the idea. So this was going to go on here with a spacer the same as this one, and swing around there out of 10mm plate, but it needs to go pretty close there, as close as we can, and it needs a bolt here in the corner. So probably what I'm going to do, because if I was doing this again I would have put a little piece on here to put the bolt in. Not much I can do about that now. It's fairly close, but I might mill a half circle in here and then make up a pin piece with a screw underneath that locks in here and sticks out a bit on the corner. Just to get rid of this sharp corner too, might be really nice to have a piece on there. So that might happen just with a straight piece and then a round on here for the pin, or for the bolt for the T-nut to lock this on the slot. I drew this out and put this on a piece of board the other night, probably last night late. And it's not sticking out here far enough to go right round, so I'm going to have to modify this here. So that's a work in progress. I think I can probably make this a smaller diameter, and we can probably pull this up a fraction too, so maybe we'll get away with it. As we are now, the bolt's going to be about probably a 5mm bolt that's about 7mm from each side, so it's a little bit close here. We might have to make something on here. That'll be nice. Might as well do it properly. So that's where we're at. We're gonna probably, this needs hardening up and tempering to fairly hard. It's 4140. I don't think it ever broke it. It's in tension rather than in compression all the time. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. But yeah, it's very close. There's sort of, I'm going to draw this up the best I can. If I can mark this out and put a hole in the corner here, I'd be happy with that. But if I've got to put a radius in there with an end mill, then get a piece of bar with a flat on it and a screw under here, I'd be happy with that too. So that's the progress on that. It's up, it's been on the machine, it runs both directions. There's space in there for a neutral in the middle, which I'm really pleased with. It locks down nice, it fits, it stands up straight. if it wasn't for the stuff ups, I would probably have this handle finished this weekend and probably this plate on here. I thought that's what I had intended to do. However, didn't happen, and I guess it's sort of self-paced, so it doesn't really matter. But this next weekend I want to do some more on the 400. That's important. I want to get a few things done there, and I probably want to clean these fingers up on this ready to blue because they're in danger of going rusty being tool steel. And these pieces here, we might blue all them while we just sort of as a practice run. And some of these bits are probably going to get blued like the nuts. And I also need to make some serious progress on my coat hanger. So that's where we're at with that. I've got this awesome little Criterion boring head, and it is a good Imperial boring head. It'll be it's chemical blued, but in boiling water at boiling temperature. So to boiled finish, it's quite nice. Some of the stuff that I've seen done with it. So more information as we go with that. Got this little boring head. It's not a bad boring head at all. It looks a bit rough, but it's nice and accurate, and it seems to work. And I bored this with it in here, and that's okay. However, I couldn't bore this with it because it sticks out too far. It's got a straight shank on it that's just quite long, and then by the time you put it in an ER32 collet that sticks out this much, the chuck sticks out another 60-70 millimeters, you've only got about this much to the end of the table, so this much to the end of the table, and that's a bit of a problem. So what I'd like to do with this, I don't know, it's got a flat on there, some idiot's put on there for some reason. This was the right price. I picked this up at the Summer Bash. And it was a bit of a score. However, this is all one piece. So what I'd like to do is convert this to Morse taper too. That seems to be the logical thing because it only gets used in the mill. And whether I cut this off and bore it out and hair shrink a piece in there, or whether I cut it off and bore it out and fit a Jacobs 6 taper in there, and then a bought taper to push in there, that might be a good option. I'm not sure. If anyone's got any ideas how I can fix this, I would use this a lot more if I didn't have this much space between there and the milling machine, which is where the problem is at the moment. Jolly Messenger. Why do people message me in the middle of the live stream? It's a bit strange. That's what the ding is, and I'm sorry. I'm trying to ignore them for another 10 minutes. But that's something I need to fix. As a consequence, you're probably right. You're probably right. Is the shank big enough for an R8 conversion? No. Take care, Rustnox. Not really. It's about 3/4. And I would just set it up and turn the taper on it and tap the end of it for a drawbar. However, it's got this flat on it, and it's not going to be real good, I don't think. I'd have to measure it up, and if I think I could get it out of it, I would. But I mean, the other option probably is you could buy a Chinese one with a threaded adapter, and I don't think much of that either. So don't know what to do about that. I'd like to get it going because it's not a bad boring head, and it's as good as anyone I'll get out of China. It's genuine Criterion. Pity it's not metric, but anyway. I was looking for something I thought I put away, and then I must not have. Who knows? Anyway, thanks, Willem, for that. I've got this awesome short boring bar that come from Solid Rock Machine Shop. You probably saw the post. If you don't follow Solid, hey Max. If you don't follow Solid, it's Steve Barton at Solid Rock Machine Shop, especially you grinder guys. You probably should, because he's an awesome guy, a good teacher, nice fella, and he has a pretty good channel. Obviously, that's his Solid Rock Machine Shop. But because I haven't got enough stick out, and I really only need a boring bar this long, as much as I hate to, I ended up chopping this much off the end of it, which is terrible. But I now have a really short one, so I'm going to have to invest in a longer one as well at some point. Yeah, most other boring heads are screw fit. However, Greg, the problem is that my milling machine does most of its work in reverse because it's a horizontal mill. So generally you don't want to be climb milling, and the table works from the left to the right. So you really need a reverse cutter. And it would be nice to have this so that if you were setting it up to do any serious boring, that it run backwards as well. So I don't really want to screw it. That's where we're at with it. I thought about it, but I bet it's hard to. And I don't know. You could probably screw this piece. I don't think you could screw this back in here because it's all hollow, and I think you would lose too much rigidity through here. I think it's got to be done from here. So I'm thinking probably I'm just going to bore it parallel and shrink fit, good solid shrink fit something in there, and hope that it doesn't ever let go. So that's where I'm at. Parallel bore and Loctite are more soft arbor. That's probably a good option. There's something like that. It's probably really nice for it. I would like a decent arbor with a Morse taper on it that's half decent, because my mill sort of deserves that. I don't think it's a brake line. It doesn't unscrew. I think it's just a line that says Don't know what it says actually, but it seems to be solid from what I've seen of any of them on the net. I would say so, Max. If someone's got a metric criterion or a decent metric boring head, a Japanese one or a German one or something, about that size, it's a 2-inch one with a Morse taper 2, happy to swap, by the way. Or get in touch, because probably we could send you some cash for it. But yeah, I'm pretty much absolutely sure it's solid. That's where I'm at with that. I'm pretty confident about it, but I might be wrong, but I think it's probably solid. Anyway, that's another job that needs fixing, and I'd use that a lot more if it was a lot shorter. If this set went in the mill to there, it would be a good size for my milling machine. The other thing is I've stripped the drawbar in my mill. Now this is I don't think I've even stripped the drawbar. I think I've probably stripped the arbor. My 1-inch arbor. So I've been trying to get a Chinese one, or find a Chinese 1-inch short stub arbor, like a 6 or 8-inch one, and convert that to operate in my mill. But I haven't found one yet. I've got a 16 and I've got a 22, but I haven't got a 20-inch one. I guess they're available, but probably not in Australia because no one bothers to bring them in. However, I've got a stack load of inch cutters, so I'm probably going to stick with that. Anyway, I thought I would just buy stub arbors and then probably drill them out and bore them and put pins in them for the overarm. Do you think that would hold if I just ignored the flat and machined it to Morse Max? That's one of the big questions. That's I would really like to hear some feedback on that. But it's a pity it's got such a long flat on it. Someone sort of stuffed it up. But it was at a competitive price. Like, I didn't pay a lot for it at a swap meet in America. So just one of those things I brought back this last year. And this time, when I did this, is the first time I ever used it. And boring this wasn't such an issue because it's only a short distance and it's fairly well out on the mill table. But boring this and this one here is a bit of an issue, and I would have liked to have been able to do it with them. Is there a machine that your dad doesn't have, JB? Just wondering about that. Don't take it personally, but I just wondered if there was something he didn't have yet. What's the diameter of the shank? It's 3/4, Craig. I haven't done the maths yet. It's probably going to be all right. I could probably, when I've got this thread cutting attachment up and going, machine a pretty nice arbor on it that's gonna hold and gonna be good. So that's where we're at. I think I'm going to have to probably extend this here or put another piece in it and tidy it up, which won't hurt because it's quite a sharp corner sticking out. I'm not going to put this on and run it for you on the camera because it's a bit noisy and it's also a little bit dangerous, and it also takes 3 hands to hold it without a camera. So that's not going to happen. I need to work out too, if we put this up, oh gosh, this is going to be nice when that doesn't fall around out of the way. I need to work out some sort of a guard system on here as well. So I probably would like to make cast aluminium guard to go on here. Don't know, maybe I've really got no idea about that, but I had thought that I would like to bolt some sort of a cast guard on, probably on here somewhere, and probably if we lay this down, I had thought that it might be nice to make some sort of integral guard on here that swings out of the way, but I'm not sure how that's going to go until I've got this on and got it working and know what clearances I need. Um, 2 9/16 we're not going to get, I don't think. There's 2 5/6, 2.5 or something. Yeah, it's about 10 mil too short there. 3/8 an inch too short. So I don't think that's going to be an option. Yeah, maybe. Trouble is, if it doesn't work, I would really like to have the boss still sticking on there. I might think about it. I might set it up and see how it looks. We'll see. It's probably one of those quick little jobs that I need to do, but I've got this project I really want to do some more on. I've got this project I really want to finish because it's so good to use it. I messed around and made this stud, and it would have been really nice not to use a die on that. I've got a coat hanger to make, which is kind of a pressing job, I guess. I've got about 20 mil accessories to make. I've got about a dozen lathe improvements that I need to make. And I've got a Stewart 400 petrol engine or gas engine that needs quite a lot more work. So at this point, it's on the back burner till I need it next time. So there we are. That's this week's upgrades. New subscribers, that's pretty cool. I'll lift this up so you can actually see that, which you can't because, yeah, and a day job too. The day job gets in the way a bit. Actually made a stand for my gears. Now you can see it. 5850. That's awesome, guys. That's kind of crazy, but thank you. What taper is the mill? Moss taper 2. Oh, well done, JB. Yeah, over halfway. It's a long way yet. Maybe one day I'll pick up my video editing and it'll just take off, but it hasn't happened yet. Don't hold your breath. So I made a stand for these because I got sick of picking them up everywhere. And this is a complete set of gears. These are only 3D printed. I don't know if they're going to be much good for very long. They all seem to be pretty nice gears. I mean, they're really not too shabby. And probably they'll stand up if they've, you know, they don't take too much of a pounding. I don't know. I really don't. But I'll try them and see. But probably we need to cut all these out of aluminium at least. And probably probably steel would be better, but it hasn't happened. That's another weekend's job. Chinese lathes are all plastic, but they're not this plastic. Nylon would probably be all right, but this I don't know about that. We'll see. Mr. Zellfish, g'day. I'm sure it does, Casual. PLA won't last too long. We'll see. I'm probably going to either buy a stick of plastic or phenolic of some sort, which is probably the best. Phenolic sheet's probably the ideal if you want quiet gears. That's one option, is to buy a sheet of 8mm phenolic. I might buy a sheet of 8mm 6061 aluminium is probably a good option too. There's probably plenty as good as it needs to be. The other option is to cut them all out of steel bar, and that seems like a lot of hard work. Delrin might work too. I mean, it's all right, but there's a lot of machining to get them all out of a piece of 80mm Delrin bar. Have I looked into electronic lead screw? Yes. Have I decided that's what I want? No. I'm not good with stepper motor technology and programming. Some people are. There are people watching this that are amazing with it. And I envy them a bit, but it's not my technology. I can work out change wheels and I can get it right. And it's a good, fun project, this. And we should be able to cut just about anything. I've got a 21 tooth gear there, and it shouldn't be a problem to get it pretty close to any thread you want. And that's good. But adding stepper motors and messing around with programming, and you can't see the thought processes through the program to know that your output onto your finished part is going to be correct. And that messes with my head a bit. So no, it's not going to be electronic lead screw ever on this machine, I don't think. Yeah, vintage lathes should be old school, but I'm sure there is help, but I just can't get my head around stepper motor technology, so I tend to not. And this will work perfectly well, and it should be good. And if I get a sheet of phenolic and cut these gears, which is probably where I'm leaning, I'm going to end up with a fairly quiet train as well. And we put some gear covers on it and blue it and paint the covers nice. It should be a fairly nice job, I think. That's where I'm at with it. Hopefully. Could Sandcars could cast these off these gears. These gears aren't all that clever, to be honest. They're certainly not good enough to cast off. The teeth are a bit swollen. I haven't got the engagement on them that I would like, and for any other device, 3D printed gears, really, they're going to need a bit more fine tuning than straight out of the CAD program. And this one's going to be first to go because there's not much space there above the keyhole. But I know I can get a set of cutters and cut them so that they're right. We've got the gear to do that. So bronze would be really nice too, Chirpy. I don't think that's going to happen. Craig, they're just one module, so they're off. Well, these ones come from a C3C, right? You can buy the kit of metal gears for a C3 straight off the shelf. They're nice gears. They're probably some sort of, they might be 4140. I don't know what they are. They might only be 1020, but they don't tend to go rusty. and they're good gears. And that's what I based it around. So they're off the shelf, all the metal ones. The other ones I can't seem to source anywhere in metal, even in plastic I can't seem to find them. So yeah, you could investment cast them, and I thought about that, but no, it's more messing around than just cutting them. So what I'm probably going to do is get a sheet of phenolic, cut it out with the scroll saw, set them up and bore them and put a keyway in them and make a mandrel and just machine them all to size and cut the teeth. Numbers I'm looking for: 20, 21, 25, 40, 55, 70, 75. Is that right? 75, 70, 65, 55, 40. There should be a 30. The 30 I think is on here, is it? No, the 30 will be kicking around. There's the 30 there. That's where we lost count. A 30, 25, 21 and 20. You could just wire cut them. I don't know if it'd be any quicker. It's probably cheaper than buying a set of cutters and the material. Can you wire cut phenolic? I've had a bit of a look, and I'm struggling a bit, Craig, to find any of them. I've had a good look for them, and I would just buy them if I possibly could, because it'd be much, much easier. But when you've got to machine bosses and then machine the centers anyway, it's probably easier, to be honest, to rather than make soft jaws and hold, grip them all and then machine them and hope you get them on center. It's probably easier just to cut them out of sheet. You could water jet phenolic. That might be an option too. You could probably just wire cut them in aluminium if JB's got nothing better to do, but I'm sure he's got heaps to do. He's fairly busy, and we already owe him a bit for this project, so we'll see. That's awesome, Tommy. Video, please. I don't know yet. It's a little way down the track. There's about 1,000 bits to finish on this. Take care, Dennis. Thanks. Good to see you. Hope you're keeping well. Have a great day. There's all this to tent assembly. There's the shaft through here with the keyway and everything, and there's a lock shaft here for this, and then I've got to make this, and then there's a few jobs still on this before we even get to the gears. So anyway, we're making some progress. We haven't got actual inserts that fit anything, but we have been making some progress. I think 12 mil, Craig. 12 mil with a 3 mil keyway. How would I face this off, for instance? Probably fly cutter. Shell mill would be nice, but probably a fly cutter or a horizontal cutter. Big wide horizontal, like side and face cutter of shell mill on an arbor is probably how I would face that. So I'm still thinking about these, but it's probably easier to cut them out of sheet than to actually cut them out of. What diameter arbor? I've got 16, I've got a 22, and I've got an inch arbor is the biggest one. Inch is the biggest diameter arbor. Yeah, I've got a slab mill. I've got a couple of drawers full of cutters, so it's just a matter of going through and finding something that fits and it gives us clearance and works. Parcel from John Creasy. There's also a shaper here. Parcel from John Creasy. Where are we thinking of it? That's the other thing that came this week. Very cool. I've actually put these away already, so yeah, not paying that. I can buy a set of cutters for less than that. John went to speaking of pattern making, John went to a tool sale in Sydney. Huge thanks. Take care, JB. And picked me up a set of these balls on handles. Everyone needs balls on handles. That's important. I don't think there's a complete set there, but there's enough to get by for a start, and we might have to make some more. But I've been looking for a set of these for smoothing fillets and patterns, so I don't know if that's what they're for. Seems a bit strange that it might be or it might not be, but they'll be very, very useful for that. I'll check out that link, Craig. There's also what appears, when we think about it, to be a holder for like a template. I dropped them. And a scraper of some sort with a big diameter on it in brass. So I don't think they're for metal spinning, Greg. They're not heavy enough for metal spinning. You want really big solid stuff for that. So they were awesome. They turned up. He also sent, hang on, who's getting sick of this? I don't feel like I've actually had anything to share today. But he also sent this cutter, which is pretty cool. Don't know, it could be for leather work. I haven't seen anything like them, so I'm not sure. I don't think they're like embossing for leather work. Anyway, whatever they're for, that's what I'm going to use them for. This is a fairly interesting cutter that John picked up for me. This is inch bore. And about the right size for my mill. But it's adjustable thickness, just adjustable width cutter, which is kind of cool. You can shim it out, and as long as you don't go past sort of that point there, you put a shim in between, and you can set the cutter width exactly, which is kind of cool. Nice looking cutter, actually. It was stuck together when I got it, so I'll make a video about that, but it's just oil. So I've oiled it up because I hate rusty cutters. And that fits there, and the keyway lines up and everything. So that's a pretty neat sharp cutter that's going to do the job somewhere. But it does need a set of shims. If anyone knows where I could find a box of 1-inch calibrated shims without sitting down and making them, because ain't no one got time for that. Take care, Mrs. E. Thanks for dropping in. Manufacturer on it, really good question. I imagine it's English. This is kind of not particularly well. It looks like it's been stamped in a tool room by someone who really doesn't know what they're doing. It's got a part number on it, or a job number, or a store number on it. And then it's got what looks like a part number from the manufacturer. And it looks like probably someone stamped over what was actually written on it. I can sort of make it out just on here, but it's a bit difficult. So, and it's got set A, so you don't get it mixed up with set B, I guess. But there's nothing really written on it, but I've not really seen one up close like it, only in books. And when I got one, I didn't know, but it's actually just rung together. It takes some getting apart, actually, when you push it together. Oh, crap. That's really tight. If you put something in there, you can just take it apart and then you shim it up. So, not much information about that. I love a set of shims. You see all these fancy box set of milling machine shims, and they're way out of my price range, unfortunately, for a set that's any good. And even the half sets or the missing piece sets or the sets that look like they've been abused are still pretty expensive. I'll have a look, Greg. Thanks for the links. So that's all the news this week. I'm going to say I'm out of here because this has been a bit long, and it's awesome that you tune in, and I even wake up for it is a bit peculiar, but I'll never get my head around that. But at this point, I haven't got the virus. Everything seems okay. I've got a lot of swarf off all this 4140. And I'm doing okay, really. But hopefully we'll have some progress on something else to show you next week, and not this boring thread cutting attachment which seems to have taken over my life in the last couple of weeks, and I apologize for that. Anyway, I'm out. Be kind to each other. All that sort of stuff, and keep the videos coming, guys.